You guys, if you are not watching the show, you are missing something. I just got through watching episode 3. And let me tell you, I am completely blown away. So, do you believe in ghosts? Okay, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm ready to talk about this. I'm not ready for all this. Yo, great. That's something else in my apartment now. All right, fine. Just, brain, mouth, heart, ready. I'm going to review episode 3. Jeez, I can't do this. It's just, I can, but wow. Wow. Hey everybody, it's your boy Montel. What's going on? How's everybody doing? Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day, week, month, year, millennium. Hopefully you guys are staying safe. You're wearing this, you're washing these, you're staying that far away, and you're continuing to be considerate and kind to other people. Don't worry about the idiots and the assholes. They're there. They're going to be there. But you just take care of yourself and yours, okay? Make sure you're staying safe and your family's staying safe. Thank you so much for checking me out. Thank you so much for joining me for this. Thank you so much for the journey. Thank you for joining me. I got more subscribers. Thank you so much, you guys. I am this close to 400 subscribers. Now, while people may not think that's a huge hallmark for me, every subscriber is a big deal. That means you guys have decided to come check out my channel, see what I'm doing, and it resonates, and you share it and you pass it on and you wait for more stuff, and it motivates me to do more stuff. So I appreciate y'all so much. Okay, thank you so much for joining me, guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting Blurticorn Speaks, the podcast. Thank you for supporting Blurticorn Convos on IG Live under my Instagram, Navy Montel. These are becoming more and more frequent, and I'm looking forward to doing more. I've got more scheduled. I've got more that I'm trying to get scheduled with some fantastic, phenomenal, incredible, talented, or just regular old ordinary blurs who enjoy and are passionate about what they love. And we get to have a conversation. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so that way you will know when I release something new from my heart and from my mind, and I want to share it with you guys. Hit the notification bell so the minute that it does, you'll be one of the first people to know that it goes, hey, guess what? It's right here. Come and get it. Yeah. Okay. And of course, like my videos. Please, 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 please. And please share. Please share. This means so much to me that you would do that. And for the people who come to join me, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Y'all, episode 3, I'm telling you, the progression of this series, there is nothing dull about this, and I love what they've done with Lovecraft Country. Now, if you haven't seen it already, go check it out. If you haven't seen episodes 1 and 2, go see them before you see episode 3, because you may get a little bit behind, but you'll still be able to get caught up. But it adds context to what's going on. I'm like most people will just start watching the show and just seeing the previews part of the intro and think that's enough. Well, I'm not one of those people, okay? I'm not one of those people. Anyway, episode 3, Lovecraft Country, called Holy Ghost. This takes place, based on what I've seen in the show, it takes place about a month to maybe 6 weeks after the situation at Arkham House, where Tick and Letty and Uncle George and now Montrose have escaped, and we lost Uncle George, which really saddens me because he started fast becoming one of my favorite characters in the show, because he's so learned, and his passion for reading and the history and the little tidbits that he would always talk about. But you could also see the conflict that was going on inside him, and I wanted to see that resolved. Everybody has done their own separate thing. We start out, Letty is with her sister Ruby, and they're walking down this neighborhood. Now, once again, have to remember, we are in 1950s, which means though black folk can go do certain things, racism is still running rampant, and there is there are so many people, white people particularly, who just don't want to see black folk come into the neighborhood, which is always weird to me, how that seems to be a justified mentality. You brought all these black people from another country, indoctrinated them, domesticated them, subjugated them, and everything. And now that they are free and part of a society, now you're working on trying to make it worse for them. And just because you don't like it, see, this is where human nature really just starts contradicting itself. But I digress. We see Letty and Ruby walking down the street, and I'm kind of curious where this is going. It's like, this is interesting how this episode started out. We see them going to a house. Letty somehow, some way, has gotten money to for whatever reason. She decides she wants to buy a house and turn it into a boarding house in a nice, respectable, white neighborhood. You guys already know where this is gonna go. So from the onset, we start seeing strange phenomenon in the house. You can hear voices, and you can just see that this house looked like people left out of here in a hurry. All the furniture, everything was still there that was left there. So we start seeing the dynamic between Letty and her sister, and you could tell that her sister, you can tell Letty has done some things, and her family feels like she abandoned them when their mother passed. She didn't even come to their funeral from previous episodes. So we are going to see more of that dynamic. And of course we move over, we see Tick, Dee, and Hippolyta at the house, and Hippolyta is still mourning the loss of George. That was her soulmate, that was her love, and you could see and tell, you could just see the grief and the anguish and the sadness of knowing that she's got to do this by herself and most importantly, she's alone. And if you think about it, it's a crappy trade. You went and saved Montrose, but you lost George. And Montrose right now has kind of gone back into his own little shell, like, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to. Nah, dog. No. There are so many questions that need to be answered, and you're going to help answer them. Well, at least that's how Tick is thinking. So we see Hippolyta in the bedroom, and she pulls out a copy of Dracula, which we find out is George's favorite book. And you can tell it's been read and loved and warned and everything else. And she starts systematically opening the pages and ripping them out one by one. And as she's doing it, you could see in her face the anguish, but also the release a little bit, because she's angry, because she knows there's more to the story than what they told her. And apparently the story is that she had gotten shot, he had gotten killed by a policeman, and that was it. But you already know this lady's sense of perception of things is a lot higher, and Montrose isn't quite aware, I don't think he really understands Hippolyta like that, but he is going to, because that lady wants answers. She wants to know what's going on, and later she does confront him like something ain't right. What are you not telling me? And he can't do the same bravado and bluster that he's done with Tick and George and Letty. He can't do that with Hippolyta. For some reason, she seems to have this level of kryptonite with him that keeps him from saying, well, just shut the hell up. No. He can't do that. In fact, you see the stress in his face, like, I don't know what to say to her. I don't know what to tell her. I've already started this lie. But she has a right to know. And I think once she finds out, she will embrace it and continue the journey. So we go back to the house, and you start seeing things in the house. Like you start seeing, like, for instance, she's showing her sister, and I meant to say this before, she showed her sister the elevator inside the house, which is great. She opens it up, she hits the button, she says, well, it was working before, opens the door, pulls back the grate, looks down, see the elevator cart down here. You hear a snap, and she looks up, and here comes the counterweight, and it almost takes her head off. Okay. People will say, well, that wasn't anything haunted. Yeah, okay. All right. The elevator was working before. Now all of a sudden the counterweight. Give me a break. Come on now. We're in a live Scooby-Doo mystery without a dog. That's all I gotta say. And nobody running scared. These are some warriors. These are some fighters up in here. So we see, and of course they have people moving in, people moving into the rooms. Tick comes through, and of course Tick tells Letty that he's going to go back to Florida. It's about time for him. But we start seeing the neighbors in the neighborhood starting some stuff. In fact, 3 white boys pull up their cars in front of the house. They tie bricks to the horns, so the horns are constantly going, and you could just see the self-attention. Of course, Tick says, I think I can stay around for a little while longer. And then again, it continues to roll. You start seeing different things in the house start to happen. You start seeing images in mirrors that Letty can't see. She's asleep in the bed. The covers are coming off, but you look down and you see this disembodied hand pulling the sheet off of her. In the meantime, you still got the horns going off, and it's absolutely nuts as you go and you see. And I can honestly tell you, as the story goes on in the episode, you start seeing what really happened, and then you start seeing the depravity and the degradation that the sons of Adam really were trying to bring out something. We come to find out that the man who owned the house, his last name was Winthrop, and Tick noticed the name, and Letty did her research. He was, not only did he steal pages from the Book of Adam to try to come up with his own language to do the same thing that Samuel was trying to do, but at the same time, without the whole book, you don't have the whole context. So while he's doing that, he's also, and when we find out that there were 8 bodies found in that house, 8 black folks' bodies, we find out that Winthrop was doing experiments on these people to try to do the same thing and emulate the same experiment or the same ritual that Samuel did back at Arnhem House. Now, mind you, during this whole time, we don't see Christina and we don't see William. We don't see anybody. We know that Samuel is dead. He's done. He's gone. And as the mystery goes on and they have a housewarming, you see the kids with a Ouija board at the bottom in the basement. And of course, the Ouija board is activated. Why would you bring a Ouija board? Why? Why do people think that's fun? There's nothing fun about that. No. So of course, they start asking questions. This is fun. Geek. And one of the kids says, am I going to have a fun trip? Everyone's going, he. It goes to no. And then the next kid asks the next question. You can start tell things are getting crazy, because one of the kids asks, who are we talking to? The board spells out George. And of course, Dee's going to lose her shit because that was her dad. And then we start seeing all kinds of craziness in the house. And eventually, during that party, the dumbass neighbors, racist ass neighbors, light a cross in the yard, and Letty has had enough, and the fellas have had enough. So she goes there with a ball bat. They come out there with shotguns to cover her. She breaks the windows of the cars and knocks the bricks off of the steering wheels. At the same time, you know, police are called. They come out. Letty surrenders, and she's taken into custody. The chief of police is in the back with her in the paddy wagon, and you know, he's doing his usual racist tropes and everything, and Letty's just taking it in stride. You know, she's doing what she needs to do. And then we start seeing the subjugation. He grabs onto one of the handholds and they start driving erratically, which caused her body to fling back and forth in the paddy wagon while he's asking her questions about who sold you the house, how do you know about the house, where. And he's asking these questions. She generally, honestly, one, she's not gonna give away the person who sold it to her, and two, there's a little more to this than meets the eye. You're not concerned about me breaking windows. You're concerned about me buying the house. And why is that? Of course, when she gets back, that's when she starts her research, and that's when we find out about Winthrop, and we find out about the experiments, and that's when we find out. And she finds out in another way too. After she gets home from being incarcerated, she goes into the basement, which she's turned into her dark room, and she's noticing on the pictures there are these glowing lines on the photographs that she takes. But she also knows before these photographs are not the way they're supposed to be, because when she shows Tick the pictures before she goes into the dark room, she sees double faces in certain people. So you know there's something going on. And at this point, they're kind of used to, I would say used to, but they're familiar with things happening, but they're not sure what's happening. So as she is looking at the pictures and she sees the lines, she takes the pictures, looks at them, and she starts putting them on the floor, and she starts forming them. They are a puzzle. Friends, the lines form a face, a ghostly face, then rises out of the floor and says, "Get out of my house." Letty loses her shit and she's out. So they eventually find out what's going on, and they go and they find a voodoo lady. Bless her heart. They find a voodoo lady, and so she can come in, she can do an exorcism. Sorry guys, you couldn't find a priest back then. It's 1950s, and most white priests aren't gonna fool with black folks. So you gotta go what you gotta go for. You gotta get a voodoo lady. So they get a voodoo lady, and she comes in to exorcise the spirits. Not even focused on the ghost itself, but the spirits of everybody else, so that they can rest. And then we start seeing the confrontation. We start seeing the spirits come up. And it's an exciting scene. I can't really describe it, but it's an exciting scene. It's an emotional scene. There are a couple of scenes in the show that I haven't told you about, especially interaction between Tick and Letty. I'm not letting that on. You're going to see that for yourself. That's another reason why you should watch this show. There are so many Easter eggs in this, so many different gems and tidbits. It's a mental smorgasbord, and it's a fantastic story being told. Eventually, the house is cleared, and we get to the end, and Tick decides he's going to go talk to the realtor about this. He goes, he's waiting across the street where the office is, and who pulls up? A familiar silver sedan, and out comes out a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman, Christina. Tick follows her across the street, goes inside, finds out that the money that was given to Letty, early in the show we find out that she is told that this is an inheritance. And of course that causes a rift between her and her sister, because her sister believes, her sister thinks, well, mama didn't have anything, and Letty was like, well, I didn't know she had anything, and she sent it all to me. And now that becomes, well, you're so selfish, you didn't show up, you didn't share the money or anything. We come to find out that money was sent to Letty from Christina to buy the house, or just set some wheels in motion. And it just so happens, of all houses in Chicago that that she's told to buy that house. Come on. All this is everything has been laid in place as a plan to a means to an end. Tick comes in, the realtor leaves, the office is empty. You can tell he is bagging up shop. She has paid him to do all this, and then Tick starts talking to Christina. He points a gun, frozen, can't move. And we learn from Christina that Winthrop stole pages out of the Book of Adam, and she's going to recover them, because though the ritual worked, it only worked to a certain point. And as you could tell from episode 2, everything went crazy, because there were pages missing from the language of the Book of Adam. So now she's going to find those pages, she's going to recreate it, and then it's going to be a bigger and better deal. So now we know who's behind everything with this episode. And I'm telling you, the iconography, the themes, the tropes, the story, the characters, the pace, the tone, all of it will keep you engaged. People talked about how slow it starts out. I think it started out just fine. I love this show. Lovecraft Country is definitely something I'm watching every week. So if you haven't already, start watching Lovecraft Country on HBO and HBO Max. It starts at 9 p.m. on Sunday, every Sunday. At 9 p.m. that's when it releases. So you don't have to worry about trying to catch it and miss it. No, you could just go ahead and start watching it, it'll just pop up, especially if you have Hulu like I do. I have Hulu with the HBO Max add-on. So once 9 o'clock comes on, it's available. But I definitely give this a high rating, because it was phenomenal, and it continues the story of what's going on with everybody. So Definitely loving this. So thank you guys so much for checking me out. If you haven't, please start watching Lovecraft Country, and if you are, stick with it. I'm going to start doing reviews like I did with Black Lightning for Lovecraft Country every week, and I'm going to pop up. We're going to have fun. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for checking me out. Thank you for support on my channel, my podcast, and for IG Live for the Blurticorn Convos, all kinds of stuff. And as always, as I always ask you beautiful, sexy, wonderful people to do for me, always, okay? Stay nerdy, stay geeky, please stay sexy, and please stay safe. We're not out of this yet, guys, but we're gonna get there together, okay? You take care. I'll talk to you later. Bye.